event for us. We as a board just want to take an opportunity to thank a couple of our retirees that are with us tonight for all their years of service. And we will start, I will call Bakeberg to the microphone.
All right. Well, greetings, everyone. I have the privilege to recognize Colleen Chambers. Tonight, Colleen has worked in the district. Well, go back. She's been in education for a number of years. How about you leave it at that, Colleen, and you can share. But she's been in the district since 2003, if I remember right. Correct? 2. And during that time, she's taught Phi-Ed, but also coached and advised and done a number of things. And I think about, we talked as a staff, but I think about the lives impacted and the influence that she's had on young men and women. And the visible things are what happened in Phi-Ed class and what happened on the courts. Everyone sees that. But I think one of the things, and the thing that as a staff we're going to miss most about Colleen and what we really appreciated are those things that happen behind the scenes that not everyone knew about. And I just wanted to take a little time to talk about that. And so every day, Colleen starts her day with advisory. And the whole purpose of advisory is really to have a community building time. And if we could have someone model what an exemplary advisory looks like, it would be Colleen's advisory. The community that she builds with her kids and how she loves her kids and how she holds them accountable is magical. And so, Colleen, that's something that I will always remember. But more importantly, countless kids will remember the impact that you've had on them. And then she was also instrumental in getting the backpack program started at the middle school. So we talk a lot about meeting the educational needs of kids, and Colleen did a great job with that. But I also think about just the physical needs that she and a group of people filled through feeding kids. And she really led the charge during the pandemic to continue the backpack program. And it was quite a show to see the Colleen pushing this heaping cart of bags out through the commons. And she did that oftentimes on her prep, before school, after school, but it was always on her own time because she truly cared and loved the kids. And then I think about also the parent-teacher conferences that she orchestrated down at Valley Green, and we've never had engagement with families and truly just connecting and loving kids. And Colleen, we talked as a staff about shade tree planting, and I just thought about in your career, if you think about your years of service and about 150 kids per year, that's roughly about 5,000 kids that you've impacted, that you've touched every single day. And I just think about the legacy left. And I think sometimes we forget that in education and the hustle and the bustle of everything. But this whole concept of shade tree planting is that you go out and you plant a seed, and that seed grows into a mighty oak tree someday. Well, all of our retirees, but I'm talking about Colleen. Colleen has planted around 5,000 oak trees, and those oak trees are at different stages of development, and she will never sit under the shade of those trees, but generations to come will sit under that, and that's the legacy that Colleen has left. So thank you, Colleen, for your service to Jordan and the other districts you've served. So Colleen Chambers.
So one memory I have of you, and you have no idea that I know this, I was at the school one day, and you guys were playing turkey bingo, and you guys had to call in your bingo over the phone, and you called in your bingo, and everybody could hear you screaming it through the whole school. You did not need to be on the phone. Everybody knew that Miss Chambers' classroom got bingo. And I think that your energy for those kids just brings a whole different dynamic to the school, and they'll definitely be missed. So congratulations.
There we go. Colleen, when I told my kids that you were retiring, both of them were like, "What? No, Miss Chambers can't retire." So I wanted to say they asked me to pass on to you their thanks, and I would like to extend my thanks as well for all that you did for kids, to include kids, to be kind to them, and to help them grow. So thank you so much for all that you did.
I too want to thank you, Colleen. When I'm up here meeting with our superintendent or up here for different things, oftentimes I walk through the school or I walk over to the gym, and I've observed you many times with the students, and it's so evident, I'm gonna cry, the true care you have for them. Okay, somebody else talk for a minute. I know. No, I mean that sincerely. It's evident that every single kid, no matter what their issue is, if they're a special needs kid or the high achiever, you treated them all equally and went out of your way to be good to them.
I will follow that by just saying thank you and congratulations and best of luck to you in your retirement.
I as well told my older boys that you were retiring, and they were also sad, and they just shared, some memories, but I think echoing what, I can't even look at you right now. Okay, I'm not looking at Deb. I'm like, but I do. I mean, just what everyone's sharing here, and really the energy that you have, and the care that you have for the kids. Thank you for that. Thank you. And enjoy retirement.
One of my favorite things has been watching your three amazing girls grow up through this district and seeing how you've nurtured them and cared for them. They truly are amazing kids, so thank you for that.
I forgot to add, you are the reason that my oldest ran. So you're the reason he joined cross country. You're the reason he joined track. And he started by literally just taking our neighbor's dog and running around the block at a very slow pace, and he stopped every so often. And then by the time he was done with that summer, he had put on 200 miles, and he joined cross country and then was there ever since. So thank you.
And with that, we have the board. Is this on? Yes. With that, the board has a little token of appreciation to you. And I have to tell you that this is a lady that doesn't age, because poor Jamie was scrambling, we tried to find a picture from when you first started to a picture from now. And every picture we looked at, we couldn't tell the difference. So. Come on up, Colleen. So on behalf of the board, thank you for everything you've done. And I'll give you a chance. Thank you.
I really truly didn't know what to expect today. I think this is a sign of what's to come for me. And it's putting me in a mode to really look back and reflect and be grateful for Jordan giving me an opportunity to spend 20 years of my career in an amazing school. I am a very old school kind of person. Have very high expectations for my kids, but I hope that they know I really care for them, and that is all I've ever wanted. That kids understood that I really do love them, and I do the same for my own kids, even though they didn't like me sometimes. So the ultimate compliment to me is always about my own children, but sometimes there was that line that you couldn't remember which kids were yours. And there's some I would like to take home, which all of us have. And if you can, like the tree thing, if we all can help one, this whole world would be a better place. And our kids really need us now. So I'm hoping to volunteer in the future and do things again with children. And elderly people are in my heart also. I used to work in a nursing home, and I feel they need us also. So I'm just looking forward to giving more in just a different chapter. But again, I just really appreciate the opportunity to be here and to work with your school and community. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Colleen. And we have another retiree, Laura Lee Axtell, who was not able to be with us tonight, and Jenna is going to talk about Laura Lee.
All right, which I have a speech. So I am here to recognize one of our retirees, Laura Lee Axtell, which if you know her, she hates recognition of any kind. She would really like to just slide out the back door. But, so here's my chance. So she has worked in the Jordan School District for 15 years as our early childhood special education teacher. I had the pleasure of working with her as a colleague in the beginning of my own career, and it was always evident that she loved children. She put her heart and soul into caring for our youngest learners. Recently, I've had the pleasure of supervising her, and I had a vision for our early childhood special education students, and she was reluctant to change programming to meet that, but she was always willing to try new things, even though change was hard. And she stepped out of her comfort zone and can now, she will tell you how beneficial it was to provide our kids full inclusion. She took that initiative, and the program is flourishing because of her. So for those of you who don't know her or didn't get the chance to work with her, I want to tell you just a couple of things. She has the most patience of anyone I know. So if you can imagine working with 3 to 5-year-olds every day who are not your own children, but someone else's, and giving them the utmost care. She did it well. She continues to do it well. She is compassionate towards all kids, and she just wants what's best for all of them. And she's always willing to go the extra mile. What's best for kids was always her number one priority. Our team will miss her terribly. There are big shoes to fill, but we are so excited for her to get to spend more time with her grandchildren, her animals, and her garden. So I just want to thank her for her time and service and love of our kids in Jordan.
So we have a gift from the board also for Laura Lee, so can you make sure that she gets that? Thank you very much. And last but not least, Mr. Visner.
We got 2 pages of notes here, Gus, so here we go. And that's just the stories that, well, Rip would have been 6 or 7 pages. Yeah. And this is just the stuff I can share here, but, so I wanted to start out with a little quiz, and just looking around at people here. How many people had Gus as their Dean of Students here? All right, 2 people. All right. How many people had their children have Gus as a Dean of Students here? All right, including me, I'm in that group too. How many people had their grandchildren be their Dean of Students here too? All right. Hey, you have been here a long time, and you've made so many impacts on so many kids. Just over the last few days, I've been talking to people, and they were your student aide. And so Nate Warden shared his stories about being your student aide. And then today it was Breeze. Oh my gosh, I'm drawing. Renee, yes, Renee. And she was sharing that she was your student aide at one point, and different people. And it's just these continual stories about the opportunities you gave them and what it meant to them. And along those lines, you know, kids also shared the story of, or these adults now shared the stories of the opportunities you gave them to spy on other kids and kind of get that intel and information. All these little Yeah. But Gus is so good at his job, and so much of it is subtle. You know, it's things that teachers don't see, or other people, adults in the buildings, or even students might not see, and it's just subtle little things that make our building run in a really, really good way. And I'll just give you a couple examples. One of the things when I got hired 6 years ago is Gus said, you know, if you can get people to get out in the commons, I can get outside, and we can keep our parking lot safer, and we can keep all our places safer. And so for about 5 years now, we've been able to get that done, and you'll see almost every day in the middle of winter, he's got his hat and gloves on, and he's out at the corner here. And 75 degrees and raining, he might be out there. It's 95 and hot, he's out there. And it just helps our whole building run more smoothly. Another example that people don't see, except for probably about 5 or 6 of us, every day Gus moves the table in the lunchroom. He folds up tables with the custodian and puts them away and moves them every day. And that's just the little things that nobody really sees that just help our building to run well. But I see those things, Gus, and I've seen them for a number of years now. You know, I've also, one of the other things is that in his job, part of his job is disciplining students. But it's amazing how many times we might be at a local establishment or something, and there's kids that come up, Mr. G, how's it going? And da-da-da-da, and they'll be, you know, connecting with them, and then they'll walk away and he'll be like, yeah, I suspended that kid 6 times, you know, or whatever it might be. But the kid loves him. The kid loves him because of the way that he caringly told them, much like you were talking about with Miss Chambers, held them accountable in a loving way and just said, yeah, that's just not what we do here. And kids got it. And it's just amazing to see that level of relationship in the job that he has. You know, I just think of one of these things that goes along with that is occasionally the two of us will both have to go in to meet with a student. And he'll be like, okay, good cop, bad cop. And I'll say, okay. And they'll be like, all right, I'm going to be good cop. And I think twice in my 6 years, I've gotten to be good cop, which is why they come and see him, and they're like, Mr. G! But no, I say that jokingly. But he just has such a good mannerism, and there's just been so many things that I've learned about our community. You know, we raised our hand. Like, he's just known generations of students, and that's something that will be greatly missed, is just that background knowledge that you have on, oh, yeah, well, this student and this student, they come from this, and, you know, just the different ways that you made connections with kids. And I think one of the things that I really want to share, too, is just over the last couple of years, I've been lucky enough to just get to know Gus more personally, too, and Jana also. And we, one day I just kind of happened upon him at Heartbreakers in Chaska, and it was bingo night. And it became this thing. And I kind of honed in on their little bingo night, but it was so much fun. And just, we continue to have these stories, and hardly any of the stories are ever about school. It's about our lives growing up, and we have these weird connections between his family and my dad, and because we kind of grew up in the same areas our families did, and just, I'm really going to miss those stories that we've been able to have, and just on the craziness that came about from both of our lives living on you in North Minneapolis and me in Rogers, and just how they kind of meet in Osseo, you know. And so I just want to say, good for you, Gus. I'm so happy for you. I'm sad that you're not going to be, you know, opening up the building and moving tables next fall, but I'm more happy for you and the opportunities you're going to. What's that? Yeah, not as sorry as Dwayne when he's moving those tables. That's right. But no, I just want to say thank you for everything you've done for our district. I mean, I've only been a part of it for 11 years, but your impact goes over 30 years that you've been making a difference for our students at Jordan High School. And I should say also, beyond the dean, he's also taught a number of classes, even up until probably 3 years ago, of teaching some classes along with his dean work. So the impact you've had, I don't know the number of students, but I know the feel that I have of the number of students that you've made an impact on, and I just thank you for all you've done for the kids of Jordan. Congratulations.
I just want to say, Brian, that you're such a relational person, not only with the kids, but with adults. You're so easy to talk to, and that's so appreciative. Whenever we, as a district, are out at any kind of events, or our kids are on field trips or different events, we hear from the other schools about how special our kids are and how respectful they are compared to a lot of districts. And I attribute that a lot to not only what happens in the elementary school and in the middle school, but a lot of it at the high school level because of your relationship with them. So thank you for that, and I just wish you the best in retirement.
Oh, no. I can't. I'm fighting the tears. So, okay, you go.
Gee, I think Joy would speak of great fondness of the leadership skills you bestowed upon leaving my junior daughter in charge of the children in your classroom. I remember going to conferences and we had to go see Mr. G, and she was your teacher's aide, and I couldn't imagine why we were going there, because she wanted to introduce us to what a fine man you were. Now, Josh, he was on the receiving end of the discipline, and he probably didn't go as willingly to visit with you. But all of my 4 children and Gina had utmost respect for the kindness that you treated them, it be it discipline or being it your friendship. You're a great man, and you leave a legacy behind in Jordan for the fine way you treated students at Jordan.
So I'm a Jordan graduate from 2008 to 2011, and I'm actually going to defend my thesis tomorrow, and I'm sure in some part, obviously my dad contributed to that. But it's just funny, in my time, you'd think that as the daughter of the dean of students that I'd get a hard time. But I think my dad was more popular than me, because he always seemed to know where the parties were at when I didn't. He'd say, were you at that party this week, or do you know that someone's throwing a party? And I'd say, I had no idea, but I guess you do. And there would even be kids who I was kind of scared of because they were always getting in trouble. And when they'd run into me, they'd say, you Mr. G's daughter? And I'd say, yes. And he'd say, and they'd be like, he's all right, because they respected him so much. And even when I was in school and after, and I'd ask him about, like different students, I'd say, how was your day? He would always say, maybe he had a problem with a parent, maybe he had a problem with a teacher, but he never had a problem with a student. And I don't know if that was because he had a hard time growing up, when he was young, he was poor and grew up in North Minneapolis, but he always would say, like, I know about this kid. I know how hard it is for him right now. He's working at the McDonald's to support his family because his parents aren't around. And so I think just that, it's not just the success stories that we have to look at with my dad. It's really like the students who struggled and how much he always cared for them. And they were never the problem for him. And I think that that was just a really great thing for him as the dean of students, so, yeah.
Okay, speaking of the parties, our senior year we tried to color code the grad parties by who would have alcohol for the kids, and he figured it out before anybody. You would hang a banner on the wall and write the grad party in a different color if it was gonna, and he figured it out before that banner was down real quick. But I think from I never did that. I have a son that graduated. Yeah, we did. But I think from being one of your students and having you work with my mom, it was. Your dad driving bus. Yep. So, sorry. And now you have my son, who you spend a lot of time with. But he is, and having you when you send emails you know, it's like having you always still point out the positives is a really big deal. And I'm sorry. And I think he's gonna miss you. So, thank you. There's a lot of us.
So much for the community here. Mom and Dad working for the district. Of course, your brother, Bill Nelson, is his mentor.
Yeah.
He said, I want to go into education.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm.
You know, the roots run deep here.
We never leave.
So I've never had a...
It's like, okay, just go.
You know, the Jordan kids have been great. You know, Don Tillman hired me in 1990, and I just felt like this kinship with Jordan, but way back then, that he reminded me of growing up in North Minneapolis. Guys working on their cars, listening to the Allman Brothers, you know, and they love playing ball. And that's how it started. And of course, Jordan, it grew. But I've always had a great relationship with the board, going back to Gene, Paul, Tom Vogt, Deacon Ray. I mean, the list goes on. And they've done nothing but support me. I never had in 32 years a board member say to me, well, you really shouldn't have said that to that kid, or you shouldn't have done that, or what's your policy on this? Nothing but support. Don actually had me in 91 go in front of the board because Jean Paul grilled me. And she asked me, do parents have a right to excuse their child? And I didn't know where this was coming from, but I said, of course. But if it gets to be a problem and there's too many, then we got to vet that out. But that, you know, was about the only time. Otherwise, great support. There was one, yeah. No, but you know, this is a board thing, and you know, and I appreciate the school board members, you know, taking time out of your evening, you know, to recognize us. I appreciate it. And Jeff Visner, I wish I would have worked with this guy for 30 years. He's a great guy. He's not going to ask you to do anything he wouldn't do. He's out there too. He's out picking up trash, or, you know, it's what Mark Ruggerberg once told me. We got to do whatever it takes to run a good school. That's him, you know, and that's what we do. So I've just had a great 32-year run here, and I just thank, again, the Jordan families, the Paulies, the Biskins, and just goes on and on, even the Bakebergs, you know, great kids. And that's what you do is, you know, for those, you know, the kids that keep it running, kids that are involved in multiple sports and theater and band. A band concert today had a tribute. The good, the bad, the ugly. That Mr. Burnside said is for me. So I don't know if that's a compliment or which one I am. Or throughout the week, maybe I'm each. I'll have to ask him tomorrow.
It's more about your love of Western movies. Yeah.
Oh, that's it. All right. Yeah. So, and you know, thank my daughter and her fiance for coming tonight, and they came all the way from South Minneapolis. Jana, you made sure you were here. We're in the midst of selling our house, so it's retirement, you know, selling a house, and we got a puppy, and we won't get into that. So, but no, I've enjoyed my years here, and so it's a great place to be. It's a great place to bring your sons and daughters and open enroll them. Right? If you don't live in town, bring them in. So, but thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you all so much. And again, thank you to our retirees, and just have a great